in the north. Text 25. Dumo ratris tata Krishna shanmasa dakshinayanam tatra chandra masam jyotir yogi prapya navartate. Translation. The mystic who passes away from this world during the smoke, the night, the moonless fortnight, or in the 6 months when the sun passes to the south, or who reaches the moon planet, again comes back. Text 26. Shukla Krishna Gati Hyate Jagata Shashvate Mate Ek Ayayatyana Vritim Anyaya Vartate Punaha. Translation. According to the Vedas, there are two ways of passing from this world, one in light and one in darkness. When one passes in light, he does not come back, but when one passes in darkness, he returns. Text 27. Naite Shriti Partag Janan Yogi Muhyayati Kashchanam Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukto Bhavarjuna. Translation. The devotees who know these two paths, O Arjuna, are never bewildered. Therefore, be always fixed in devotion. Text 28. Vedeshu Yajneshu Vedeshu Yajneshu Tapasu Chaiva Daneshu Yat Punya Phalam Pradishtam Adyati Tat Sarvamidam Viditva Yogi Param Shtanam Upaiti Chadyam. Translation. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode. Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Chapter 9, Text 1, final text of the evening. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guyata mam Pravaksham Yanasuyave Janam Vijnana Sahitam Yajñatva Mokshe Se Subhat. Translation. The Supreme Lord said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most secret wisdom, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. Back to text 819, and I'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Again and again the day comes, and this host of beings is active, and again the night falls, O Partha, and they are helplessly dissolved. Text 20. Yet there is another nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Purport. Krishna's superior spiritual energy is transcendental and eternal. It is beyond all the changes of material nature, which is manifest and annihilated during the days and nights of Brahma. Krishna's superior energy is completely opposite in quality to material nature. Superior and inferior nature are explained in the 7th chapter. So many people are trying to enjoy material nature, but they don't realize it's spiritual nature that they should be interested in, and it's the Supreme Lord's pleasure, spiritual pleasure that we should be interested in. So it's the whole thing. The whole aim is not either not known or overlooked or covered. Every living entity has this potential to realize his full Krishna consciousness and be a pure, come back to that pure constitutional position. But this 7th chapter is we're in the 8th chapter, but the 7th chapter, many Prabhupada calls the first, like the 2nd chapter, called confidential, and then the 7th and 8th chapter more confidential, and then chapter 9, of course, most confidential knowledge. So we have that to look forward to. And of course, there's a famous verse coming up: Raja Vijay Rajaguyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratikshava Gamam Dharmyam Susukam Kartum Avyayam. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self through by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. So this is the perfection of religion, and it's even beyond any. It's the perfection of religion because it's beyond religion. It's non-sectarian. It's our Sanatana Dharma. It's everyone's eternal work, really. And so it's kind of beyond. It's like even above our mundane. Some of the religions we see around the world. This is obviously something else. This is something kind of, because that those things we can see how much fighting and discord there is in the world with some of these religions and people doing so much violence in the name of religion, and it's really scary. And these religions, they a lot of their books, they talk about peace, peace on earth. And where is this universal urge for peace on earth? Where are the governments? Where's the US government specifically talking about peace on earth? That's not something we're hearing about. And there's so many other factors that seem to be in their minds. But you've got the there's good and bad things with all of them, but the Jewish faith, where they're told that they are like the chosen people, and that they are kind of above, to rule over everyone else. And then sometimes Islam has some thoughts of everyone must eventually submit to Islam. And some Christian, some of the Christian sects, they seem to say that heaven's for them, but everyone else is going to hell. And so where's the unity? Where's the invite? Where's the pathway to success for all of humanity? Isn't that what we're looking for? And we can find it with this pure devotional service, with bhakti yoga, with ISKCON, that Prabhupada set up so amazingly. He was so empowered by Krishna that so many temples, very quickly he had 108 ISKCON temples, and now we're at so many more. And we're inviting everybody, no matter what your religion is, your race, if you're an atheist, if you're an agnostic, we're inviting everyone to come under this umbrella and just love God together. Can we get together as God's children and just love God together? And we can just dance, chant, and feast. It's so simple. And we say the Maha Mantra. These are all, these seem like simple things. They're so simple yet effective. Sometimes the most effective things are simple things. And so if we could, it's that simple, and people just need to make sure they don't overlook it. And we have this Christmas holiday coming up, and it seems like the atheists, they say they don't believe in God, but when it comes time to Christmas, it's like, well, all of a sudden, I guess they get to pick and choose their holidays, because when it comes time to potentially receive a gift, all of a sudden they do want to celebrate Christmas, and so it's this holiday that's been so materialized that it has barely any glimmer of spirituality left in it. And people are fighting to keep spirituality inside of it, but it's so material. It's become so material. It's really scary that seems to be a new religion, is this materialism. Just like like why doesn't everyone just work for Amazon? If they're giving all their money to Amazon, just skip the middleman, and just everyone's going to eventually work for Amazon, I guess. But it's instead of people are using this one tactic to get people, one tactic people use to control the governments, and even that there seems to be forces above the government that are not elected, that are pulling a lot of strings. But what do they want to do sometimes is control. And so what's one of the and obviously it's fake control because Krishna is the supreme controller. But they have this idea that they can control the world, and so what do they want to do? You divide and you conquer, and so things are very divided. But what if instead of divide and conquer, it was unite and honor? You know, unite and honor the Supreme Lord and everything He's giving us. He's taking care of every living entity. Every living entity is getting taken care of. All the elephants are getting their tons and tons of foodstuffs, and every living entity is being taken care of like that. And you know, what to speak of Krishna's, beloved pure devotees, they are being taken care of, and they know they don't have to fear, and they don't have to have any stress, and they can just be in and reach for samadhi, just kind of being in an ecstatic trance of knowing Krishna, knowing supreme controller, the absolute truth. um let's go into text 21 here. That supreme abode is called unmanifested and infallible, and it is the supreme destination. When one goes there, he never comes back. That is my supreme abode. Purport. The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described in the Brahma Samhita as Chintamani Dhamma, Dham, a place where all desires are fulfilled. The supreme abode of Lord Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, is full of palaces made of touchstone. There are also trees which are called desire trees that supply any type of eatable upon demand, and there are cows known as Surabhi cows, which supply a limitless supply of milk. In this abode, the Lord is served by hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune, Lakshmis, and he is called Govinda, the primal Lord and the cause of all causes. The Lord is accustomed to blow his flute, Venum Vanantam. His transcendental form is the most attractive in all the worlds. His eyes are like the lotus petals, and the color of his body like clouds. He's so attractive that his beauty excels that of thousands of cupids. He wears saffron cloth, a garland around his neck, and a peacock feather in his hair. In the Gita, Lord Krishna gives only a small hint of his personal abode, Goloka Vrindavan, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. A vivid description is given in the Brahma Samhita. Vedic literature states that there is nothing superior to the abode of the Supreme Godhead, and that abode is the ultimate destination. When one attains to it, he never returns to the material world. Krishna's supreme abode and Krishna himself are non-different, being of the same quality. On this earth, Vrindavan, 90 miles southeast of Delhi, is a replica of that supreme Goloka Vrindavan located in the spiritual sky. When Krishna descended on this earth, he sported on that particular tract of land known as Vrindavan in the district of Mathura, India. Wow, what a purport. The Brahma Samhita has so much nice knowledge in it. We start with chapter 5.1. The originals before that were lost, but and so this Krishna is, we are not the body, and Krishna is his spiritual body, and so much more. And his senses can do things, any sense can do things that any of the other senses can do. He can eat with his eyes, for instance. And so, and then these bodies that we have, we're not the body, as we learned in chapter 2. And and we are the soul within, but we these bodies are still very valuable. It's not like they're completely worthless, because it's containing the soul. It's a vehicle for the soul, so it's actually quite valuable. And a scientist couldn't replicate one from scratch. With how much does a body cost? If you talk about the price of a body, I mean, it must, if we had to put a price on it, what, $10 billion, who knows? But if people knew the real cost of a body, or how precious it was to have this human birth, to have a chance to reach spiritual perfection, then abortion wouldn't be so much of a thing. And I was there's this bar I have to drive by sometimes, just a few miles away, and it's got two signs in the window. It says fund abortion. They're saying fund it. It needs more funding, and they're saying we need less people. Around some people get to this point where they just don't like people, or they don't like many groups of people except their own, and um, and that's kind of a lower, even I was hearing Srila Prabhupada, talk about these different levels of there's levels of even how people view other people, like like a pure Vaishnav has this whole other way of seeing people. It really values every soul, and doesn't just take people for granted like that. And um, but to go into a bar that says fund abortion, and that's uh that's pretty scary. But that's people are saying the earth is overcrowded. And actually, it can handle so many more people. Like, if we have 8 billion people now, it can easily handle, 10 times that. I forget the exact number given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but it can handle so many people because, if you've ever flown over the U.S. or something like that, it's except for these big cities that are far and in between, it's just countryside. It's just unused land for the most part. So we can handle a lot more people, and we can't be the types of people that say, maybe we used to say, "Oh, I just don't like people," including myself. You'll hear sometimes you might have had a friend that says that, "I just don't like people." And we hear these thoughts, and they're kind of obnoxious because they can kind of stay with you, and you kind of sometimes we naturally just kind of relate to a friend. So when we hear these things when we're 16 or whatever, it becomes kind of an obnoxious thought to try to get over. As we say in music, you just try to like not learn a mistake, because once you've learned it the wrong way, it's going to take extra work to unlearn it. So the idea is learn it the right way from the get go. That's why these wonderful children in that are growing up in Krishna consciousness. I mean, that's what we need. We need, we need a lot more of these beautiful young Krishna conscious souls that can actually help shape and change the world and guide humanity. Um, Text 22, the supreme. um, The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading, and everything is situated within him. So he's attainable. He's greater than all. He's attainable by unalloyed devotion. Unalloyed, unmixed. No Mishra, no Yoga Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. Mishra means unalloyed, means unmixed and really pure devotion. Um, Srila Prabhupada was so wonderful. A couple quick stories. Do you remember that story about how he was walking? He'd only been here, hadn't been here very long in America, but he was going for a walk in where was it? Boston, I think. And he's talking about unalloyed devotional service. And then they went around a corner, and then there was this big plant that said Alloyed Steel Company. He says, "See, alloyed, there was the word he was just talking about." So things like that would happen all the time. One story Shama Sundar tells in his Chasing Rhinos with the Swami story was that story of, he was trying to get Krishna consciousness going with Srila Prabhupada's guidance, and they were just so fired up. They were kind of like they had been hippies, and then they knew that they wanted something more. They knew a lot of the hippies knew they wanted spirituality. That's why it's one of the reasons it became so big. But they were in San Francisco, and and he needed some money. I forget for what, if it was, but they were constantly struggling just to make sure they had a little bit of money. And just one day, just Shama Sundar's out, and all this money just comes like kind of flying down the street. Have you heard that story? They never found out where it came from, but there was just like a lot of like money, just kind of like he's just sitting there. He just grabs up a bunch of, he needed money, and then just all this, money appeared on the street, just blowing around. So these amazing things happen like that. let's see. It is purport. It is here clearly stated that the supreme destination, although the text, although he is present in his abode, he is all pervading, and everything is situated within him. So he's at home, but he's everywhere, and everything is situated within him. So he's, as we've heard, smaller than the smallest, and he walks yet he doesn't walk, and all many of these seeming contradictions that are hard for our minds to get around, because we're in this world, this material world of duality, where it's kind of hard to wrap our minds around some of these things. But over time, after reading the literature, keep reading the literature and listening to Srila Prabhupada and associating with devotees, and things keep becoming more and more clear and beautiful. Purport. It is here clearly stated that the supreme destination from which there is no return is the abode of Krishna, the Supreme Person. The Brahma Samhita describes this supreme abode as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, a place where everything is full of spiritual bliss. Whatever variegatedness is manifest there is all of the quality of spiritual bliss. There's nothing material. All variegatedness is expanded as the spiritual expansion of the Supreme Godhead Himself. For the manifestation there is totally of the spiritual energy, as explained in chapter 7, titled Knowledge of the Absolute. As far as this material world is concerned, although the Lord is always in his supreme abode, he is nonetheless all-pervading by his material energy. So by his spiritual and material energies, he is present everywhere, both in the material and in the spiritual universes. Yasyanta Sthani means that everything is sustained by him, whether it be spiritual or material energy. It is clearly stated here that only by bhakti or devotional service can one enter into the Vaikuntha, spiritual planetary system. In all the Vaikunthas, there is only one supreme Godhead, Krishna, who has expanded himself into millions and millions of plenary expansions. These plenary expansions are four-armed, and they preside over the innumerable spiritual planets. They are known by a variety of names: Purushottama, Trivikram, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Hrishikesh, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Shridhara, Vasudev, Damodar, Janardana, Narayan, Vamana, Padmanabhaya, etc. These plenary expansions are likened unto the leaves of a tree, and the main tree is likened to Krishna. Krishna, dwelling in Goloka Vrindavan, his supreme abode, systematically conducts all affairs of both universes, material and spiritual, without a flaw by power of his all-pervasiveness. Wow. Quite a purport that could be studied and analyzed for so long. And we want to be Ananya devotees, Ananya, and thinking of Krishna from within all the time. And of course, there's Yoga Maya and there's Maha Maya, and so those are very interesting terms. If you're going to Krishna, if you're going closer to Krishna, you're being somewhat controlled by, you're under Yoga Maya. But if you're going away from Krishna, you're under Maha Maya. Just take a quick look here at something. 18 through 9. So there is one plate we can look at, plate 27, that's related to verse 821. Plate 27. So here you see all the cows, and the verse is, when one goes there, he never comes back. That is my supreme abode. And what's happening here is Krishna is bringing his thousands of Surabhi cows back home from the fields at the end of the day. It's a beautiful, beautiful painting there. And so many thousands of cows, when they would, when there was a birth or a celebration, there would be like giving of, hundreds of thousands of cows away as a gift. So many cows, and such beautiful animals. And Srila Prabhupada, one time he was asked, "What is the most beautiful animal?" And he thought about it for a second. And he said, "Horse." So he also loved the beauty of the horse. Um, Text 23. O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times at which, passing away from this world, one does or does not come back. So we're going to start seeing here some things about the yogis, about people, about the yogis, or jnana yogis, and there's so many little instructions that they have to follow to try to make it back to Krishna's abode. They have to do so many things, and they have to know so many little details. But if you're practicing, it's a shortcut. The bhakti yogi, the pure bhakti yogi, just has to do devotional service. He doesn't have to remember so many little rules and things. It's a shortcut. It doesn't have to take so many lives. It doesn't have to take all the raising of the airs and of the air to the right places. And um, they say uh, during the fortnight of the moon, so that's like, it has to be like as the moon is getting brighter, and then the 6 months when the sun travels in the north, so that would be like basically, uh, in America, that would be like spring, and um, that would be basically like winter and spring when the sun starts going on its northern journey around this winter solstice, December 22nd, usually around then. And then around the summer solstice, it starts to do its southern journey again. And so that's what's kind of exciting about this winter solstice, because the days actually start to get longer and we start to get a little more sunlight. So these dark days where we're getting less and less sunlight and these days seem so short. Well, in just about 10 days or so, we're going to start to get a little more sunlight every day. So that is one nice thing about that. But can you imagine trying to pass away at the right time? It's like, no, I can't pass away until this time of year, and the moon's doing this, and I have to chant these mantras, and I hope I'm doing it right. If you mispronounce one mantra, you mess it up. Krishna's saying, no, you don't have to do all that. It can be simpler than that. Lord Chaitanya is saying that. He's saying it's a simple process for this Kali Yuga. Just chant the Maha Mantra. Just remember the Lord at all times. Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvataha jakvadeham punarjanma neti mam eti so Arjuna. One who remembers the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, after leaving the material world, take his birth again, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Let's see here. Purport of text 23. The unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are totally surrendered souls, do not care when they leave their bodies or by what method. They leave everything in Krishna's hands and so easily and happily return to Godhead. But those who are not unalloyed devotees and who depend instead on such methods of spiritual realization as karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, etc., must leave the body at a suitable time and therefore be assured whether or not they will return to the world of birth and death. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and place for leaving this material world. But if he is not so perfect, then he has to leave at nature's will. The most suitable time to leave the body and not return is being explained by the Lord in these verses. According to Acharya Baladev Vidyabhushana, the Sanskrit word kala used herein refers to the presiding deity of time. And Prabhupada says in the next purport that if one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it's possible to attain the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. But that's it. Mystics who are advanced in yoga practice can arrange others have no control. But so they can only get to this Brahma Jyoti. This is a place, it's not real pleasure. It's kind of the absence of pleasure, of pain and pleasure. It's just kind of an effulgence. It's really not any. There's something beyond that that's much more eternally satisfying. And a lot of times, um, they will just, even if they attain these heavenly planets, where they live for so many years, they still have to come back down and go through the process again. They might have to be born again like a worm or a snake, So um, they want to enjoy, they want to reach those spiritual planets, but that's not really the heavenly planets, but that's not the goal. And then I was going to skip ahead to the last text of this chapter, text 28. And this is like Prabhupada says, this verse is the summation of the seventh and eighth chapters. Translation: a person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode. So the person practicing devotional service doesn't lose out on all these things that these yogis are getting, where they're the you get all of that and then so much more, so much more. So there's nothing lost. There's nothing lost in this path. And every time you make spiritual advancement, it goes in your spiritual bank account. And that number doesn't, like material bank accounts, go down. Spiritual bank account doesn't go down the way material bank account. In fact, you can keep your balance even life after life. Purport: this verse is the summation of the seventh and eighth chapters, particularly as the chapters deal with Krishna consciousness and devotional service. One has to study the Vedas under the guidance of the spiritual master and undergo many austerities and penances while living under his care. A brahmachari has to live in the home of the spiritual master just like a servant, and he must beg alms from door to door and bring them to the spiritual master. He takes food only under the master's order, and if the master neglects to call the student for food that day, the student fasts. These are some of the Vedic principles for observing brahmacharya. After the student studies the Vedas under the master for a period from 5 to 20 years, he may become a man of perfect character. Study of the Vedas is not meant for the recreation of armchair speculators, but for the formation of character. After this training, the brahmachari is allowed to enter into household life and marry. When he is a householder, he also has to perform many sacrifices and strive for further enlightenment. Then, after retiring from household life, upon accepting the order of Vanaprastha, he undergoes severe penances, such as living in forests, dressing with tree bark, not shaving, etc. By carrying out the orders of brahmachari, householder, vanaprastha, and finally sannyas, one becomes elevated to the perfectional stage of life. Some are then elevated to the heavenly kingdoms, and when they become even more advanced, they are liberated in the spiritual sky, either in the impersonal Brahmajyoti or in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Loka. This is the path outlined by Vedic literatures. The beauty of Krishna consciousness, however, is that by one stroke, by engaging in devotional service, one can surpass all rituals of the different orders of life. Prabhupada's not just saying that. He's given us a big secret here. And, we need to really trust him on that. One should try to understand the seventh and eighth chapters of the Gita, not by scholarship or mental speculation, but by hearing them in association with pure devotees. So he's saying the seventh and eighth chapters should really be heard in the association of pure devotees. Chapters 6 through 12 are the essence of the Gita. If one is fortunate to understand the Gita, especially these middle 6 chapters, in the association of devotees, then his life at once becomes glorified beyond all penances, sacrifices, charities, speculations, etc. One should hear the Gita from the devotee because at the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated that the Gita can only be perfectly understood by devotees. Hearing the Gita from devotees, not from mental speculators, is called faith. Through association of devotees, one is placed in devotional service. And by this service, Krishna's activities, form, pastimes, name, etc., become clear, and all misgivings are dispelled. Then, once doubts are removed, the study of the Gita becomes extremely pleasurable, and one develops a taste and feeling for Krishna consciousness. In the advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna, and that is the beginning of the highest perfectional stage of life, which prepares the devotee's transferal to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky, Goloka Vrindavan, where the devotee enters into eternal happiness. um, wow, great, amazing purport. 5 to 20 years, formation of character. Study of the Vedas is meant for formation of character. That word character, and um, character, which takes a long time. Formation of character. That's not something you can change overnight. We're talking about something that we're going to try to change as soon as possible, but it's not necessarily going to be instant. Growth is not always easy or instant or even painless or quick. um, but character, and so this really is a science of in some ways it's a science. It's human resources. It's a people science. It's about you, which is who is a person, and it's about Krishna, who is a person, and it's about helping all of these people around the world and helping them. That's why we have to get pleasure out of seeing Krishna's creations and all these people, even if someone may have a bad interaction at a gas station or something. So many things can happen, but we're working on our character, and we're going to try to help give this knowledge that we've gotten. We're going to try to help other people by giving it to other people, and you'll be surprised how happy they are to get it, because people want to know why they're here. They don't know why they're here or who they are, or if they're this body, or if there's a soul. So they need so much guidance, and that can be for anybody. No matter if they're an American or Indian or European or a child or an adult or black or white or so many things. They all are actually wanting you to talk to them about these things. And so open your heart and go step past yourself, step a little bit outside your comfort zone, and just remember, if you're trying to distribute a book, if you get like a no, which everyone should actually take a book, but if you do happen to get a no, just remember that's building your muscles. That's every no is just going to help make you stronger. So let Krishna build your muscles that way, and keep building your bhakti muscles. This is Brahmajyoti, one stroke. Uh, we understood. So hearing it with devotees, it's so important to hear it through devotees, because he says then those devotees can help place the living entity in devotional service. If we're just going to try to read this and understand it on our own, that can be very nice, but we need to have like-minded people around us to help engage us. Engagement is so important. This time even their ancestors always said, a lot of them, even they don't want to waste even a grain of rice. And so think about that, means don't even waste a second either. Every second is so important. Is there any almost out of time, any quick questions or comments tonight? Anybody? All right. Hare Krishna, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.